got on my notes to make sure. Where are we? All right. Well, we've cut straight in. I haven't even put on the music. I normally do a countdown, but we've been chatting. So what can we do? Hello, good evening, Duncan Thomas and Joanne and Annie. Or Johan. I should say, not Joanne. Apologies, Johan. And Annie. Let's give a few minutes and then we shall get going. You guys are welcome to turn on your cameras. If you've been with me before, you'll know that if you've been on one of these before, you'll know we love the interaction. So let's give a couple of minutes and see who else is coming. See, Kathryn's got her fur kids behind her there, or one of them on the bed.
Yeah, they're both with me. So yeah, don't be surprised if they start walking along the city. It's not a ghost. It's just my fur babies. Yeah, as you said.
It doesn't it come to being one of the interesting dynamics of the work from home era.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Hello,
yeah, I think that's nice, though, isn't it? It makes it a bit more personable, and yeah.
Real.
You know, that's one of the kind of, I guess you could call it silver linings from this whole COVID mess that we went through in the last little while, the last few years, is that it really brought that awareness and recognition that people can do things and continue life, those who choose from home. You know, a lot of companies realized how much money they were blowing simply on just office space. Yeah. You know, downtown Toronto office space is not cheap. It ranks as one of the most expensive real estates in the world. So you can imagine how much companies were spending on a monthly basis. And guess who paid for all that? The final consumer, always. So now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, if we don't need all that office space, we can still get productivity done, and people are happier working from home or wherever they are. The mobile world and, Zoom has exploded.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So by Ellie's definition, all prices should start dropping, right?
Hey, well, that would be
be the logical conclusion. Yes,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's climb in it. Oh, there's Aaron. Good evening, Aaron. Welcome, guys. And good
to see you.
Good evening, Aaron. Hi to Natasha, Johan, and Annie, and Duncan. Welcome. Wonderful to see you. If there's 4 of you here tonight, that is absolutely beautiful, because then the most important people are here. Instead of having 40 people who are disengaged, we've got 4 people who are committed to finding out what it is that they can actually do to get forward, out of that comfort zone. So let's climb straight in. I know we are going to have some other people who are going to join us. It's the way that it always goes, isn't it? That they come through. But we're recording, as always. So if you don't know me, my name's Tim Wagner, and I'm here as your host for our 10th, if you can believe it, workshop as we're ending the 10th month of the year. We're here every month to share with you, and I love collaborating with other people. So let's see if we can keep you engaged and really help you stretch your horizons, helping you step outside your comfort zone and into your growth zone. So I'm going to start off by introducing our speakers. And I will just, first of all, give huge apologies from Meg Roundell-Green. Unfortunately, in the early hours of this morning, her mom was rushed into hospital having urgent, immediate heart surgery. So Meg sends apologies. She wanted to try and do a recording, and huge shame. And she's got a beautiful story, but you guys will get to meet her in one of the other workshops that we will run. So we're going to fill in the gap there. I hope you're not going to be too disappointed, but we're going to keep it interactive and exciting at the same time. So hearts and wishes and all that go out to Meg and for her mom. Then we've got Kathryn Horler, who on my screen is in the left-hand corner from the UK, and the amazing Ellie Javitz there in my right-hand corner as well, who's going to be sharing their insights and their story about how they broke out of that comfort zone as well. So what we will have a chance for is a great time for panel discussion and Q&A. So here's what I request of you. And I see that Natasha's on the board already. She's got one of these old-fashioned devices. And some of that, as we're going through, something which one of us speaks about that you think, I want to find out more. What did you mean by that? Can you please repeat that? I got a question regarding this. In my circumstance, this happened. Make a note of it. We're going to make sure that there's more than enough time where we can then break this down for you guys individually. And as a small group, we can actually get to doing this, which I find very exciting, because then we can help you do some true change, create, I should say, some true change. So please do make notes. And another thing, if you can keep your cameras on, that is so exciting and energizing for us as speakers. So if you're able to, Duncan and Johan, Annie, when you've finished your dinner or drinking your tea, and you're welcome to drink it over camera, we don't mind. We'd love you guys turning your camera. Otherwise, practice that emojis. In fact, let's all do that right now. On the bottom of your screen, you've got that little manaki, that circle with a smiley face, reactions. Click on it. Send a reaction, send an applause, a thumbs up, whatever it is. Let's see that you know where it is. There we go. Aaron's got the horn with the shooting stuff. Carol, welcome. Wonderful. Let's find that. Your reaction to what we're saying means that when we receive that, we know we're actually on the right track. So please, let's get reactive. Fantastic. Duncan's found it as well. That's awesome stuff. Appreciate that. We love it. You hear something you like, give a thumbs up, give a heart, give a signal, whatever it may be. We value your feedback, and that's such an important one. You guys are here. You've committed your time. Let's play full out. We're going to be here full out for you. You be here full out for us. So let's start, in fact, practicing the typing skills. I've got a question for you. What is one thing that you can think of to take you to your next level right now that you're not doing? Put in the chat box there. Type there, comments. What is one thing that you know could help take you to the next level that right now you're not doing? And I put this to my co-hosts as well. My coach is here with me today as well. Making lots of sales. Straight to the point. Natasha's got the prize. Straight to, yeah, better marketing. Thank you. Yes. What else that you're not doing that you know if you did it, you could take you to that next level? Be it personal, be it in business, your own business, in corporate, staying consistently focused, speaking with more people. That's also another one. Yes. Yeah. Isn't that what it's all about? It's all about people. Not making enough to listen with Bob Proctor, enough time, I guess you're talking about there, building deeper relationships. Put this in your hat for the moment. Let's see, as we're going through what we're speaking about, even if we don't talk directly to your problem point, your challenge point, your obstacle, that maybe we can help you work through this a little bit here tonight, that when you leave, you're actually going to realize, dreaming again, wow, dreaming again. The brilliant thing about what you said there, Duncan, was again, that means you've done it before. So you've done it before, we can help you do it again. So keep in mind what it is that you've written there. And when we finish off, we're going to see if we've actually been able to help you move through that. So stay right to the end. When you stay right to the end, there's going to be two things that you will be given. I'm going to share something with you. For me personally, as a gift to you guys, an offer for you to join me on another free session, which I'll chat about later. Plus also at the end, I'm going to ask you to rate this workshop. Now, not only is that valuable for us as coaches, but then we get a testimonial from you if you're so kind to do that, but it also then give you access to a couple of free things that we're going to be offering you, including a chance. There's an application form where then you can fill it in if you want to have a 30-minute one-on-one call with any three of us. So you fill that in, you send it off to me to book a time slot to then that these coaches can go diving deeper with you personally on a specific thing that is bothering you. And that's what we offer for you because you've turned up live. It's only available for people to turn up live, and you're only going to get that link if you stay to the end. So how's that for incentive? So before I get cracking on and starting to actually share some bit of a personal story, actually, I'm going to go to this evening in relation to comfort zone. before we do that, I want to just take a screenshot of these beautiful people here, which means I am going to ask Johan, Carol, and Duncan to just turn on their cameras so I can take a beautiful picture of us. So the people who aren't here can go, man, we missed out. Look at that. Are you guys game for that? You can turn it off afterwards if you want to. Are you okay for doing that? Are we going to get a yes? Are we going to get a no? Are you in your pajamas already? Ah, there's Duncan. It's dark. Hey, turn on the candle. Turn on the candle. Light the candle. There we can see you. Ah, Johan, appreciate that. No, not camera presentable. All righty. I'll have to superimpose a picture of somebody that I believe that looks like Carol. Is that going to be fair enough? I'll check with you beforehand. Okay, so what we're going to ask for is I'm going to just take a screenshot here and give me a beautiful thumbs up, a nice emoji, a heart, whatever you want to do to show you're exciting. Here we go, and let's go. Hey, we're off to the braces. Oh, hang on. I've got to try that again. All right, something went bad. Yes, you're rolling eyes. Okay, and Margaret's come on. And 1, 2, 3, let's do this. There we go. Ah, that's perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you all very much. You know, I love doing these things here. Okay, there we go. You can turn it off again. Hello, Margaret. Welcome. Good evening. That is fantastic. So I'm going to be sharing with you, as I do pick up my screen here. There we go. And I just want to get a thumbs up there from Kathryn that you can actually see that little square box with inhale in the middle of it. Fantastic. And bring up that. I am becoming known as the stress guy, the breathwork guy, if you want. Somebody who focuses very effectively and passionately on stress release and anxiety release. And I do this using the power of breathwork. Now, because we're all in such a high-stressed, high-strung environments, our business, our social lives, the information that's thrown at us all the time, we can turn up in an environment or a workshop like this, and our minds are all over the place. We're worried about things that haven't done, what we got to do afterwards. Can I really commit my time to this tonight? What's going to happen tomorrow? What happened yesterday? So in order for you to be here full out, I'm going to share with you what I call a breath hack. It's one of my favorites, one of the world's most popular breathing techniques that you can actually use to calm your mind and get a little bit more centered between your body, your heart, and your mind, and a bit more resonance so that you're actually able to be here in the presence. And this is a brilliant one to use for people who are in a high-strung environment. So not only am I going to share it with you tonight, but it's something which you can learn to do throughout your day to help you just before doing a big presentation, or you got a client pitch, or you got to make those phone calls and you're nervous as hell, that you can actually just do this for literally 60 seconds. And you'll find that your mind functions a lot more effectively because you'll be more focused. It's so effective that firefighters are trained on this, as well as the armed forces. People in the army who are in war, or you've got the special forces, I should say, who are in high stress, high anxiety situations for long periods of time, use this to remain calm. So all that you're going to be doing is feet flat on the floor, your arms wherever is comfortable. You can either follow the screen in front of you, it's a box, or you can just listen as I explain what you're going to be doing. So when you're doing an inhale, you're breathing through your nose. When you're doing an exhale, you're breathing through your mouth. So the way that it'll go is I'm going to count you down from 3 to 1. And as I count you down, you're going to let all your air out. You're going to close your mouth and you're going to breathe in for the count of 4. You're then going to hold for the count of 4. You're then going to breathe out through the mouth for count of 4. You're going to hold for the count of 4. And we're going to repeat that cycle for literally 60 seconds. And we're going to see, how do you feel? You're sitting down, you're not going to faint, you're not going to go anywhere. It's not that deep. So let's start this. And I'm going to give you a count in, and you're going to let all your air out, close your mouth, and then have a breath in through your nose. And 3, 2, 1. Inhale through your nose. Oops, I go back again. I've just gone and done something very strange with my slides. Apologies. Let's try again. I don't know what happened there. And 3, 2, 1. Breathing in through your nose. and hold for the count of 4. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Let your breath out through your mouth. And hold. Inhale through your nose. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. And just let your breath out. How are we feeling? Calm, collected, present, a little bit lightheaded? If you're feeling a little bit lightheaded, you're probably not breathing effectively enough. It's a brilliant one to actually learn to use. And I've got many different breath hacks. You can pull them off my website. They're all available for you there to go and download. That can just help you in various different stages and states. So now that we're actually here and we're present, I'm going to ask you to turn to your keyboard and share a couple of answers to these questions. So I want to start getting you to think a little bit here. We're here to talk about comfort zone, going outside of comfort zone and into growth zone, so that really by the end of 2023, you're ramping it up ahead of 2024. So in 2024, you can start fast. Now, I know that at this time of year, and I've seen it through the years, that at this time of year, coming to October and then November, people are already winding down. Now, what I'm here to encourage you to do is say, no, this is the time you maintain the momentum, because the work you do now is going to give you a head start next year. So here's my first question for you. What does the term comfort zone mean to you? How would you describe comfort zone in your own words? Put in the chats. Quick type. What does the term comfort zone mean to you? See if I can put it up there. Complacency, doing what you've always done. Complacency. Hey, complacency of twice, right. Not doing anything extra, being comfortable and not taking risks, says Natasha. Yes, Johan, not doing anything extra. Right. Excellent. Exactly. So have you ever hesitated to take a new opportunity on or to change something because you felt that it was uncomfortable or unfamiliar? And so you stopped doing that. Did that ever happen to you? Oren says, follow the crowd like a sheep. Yep, just keep doing the basic stuff. So have you ever hesitated to take a new opportunity to change and get into uncomfortable situations? But absolutely, says Ellie. Yes, many times. We all have. We all have. Often that comfort zone can keep us from going into the uncomfortable or the unfamiliar. Next question for you. Yeah, absolutely. What's the most significant fear or barrier that has kept you inside your comfort zone? Because I'm going to be talking on fear tonight. What is the most significant fear or barrier or block or obstacle that kept you inside that comfort zone? Fear of failure, Duncan, thank you. Rejection, yeah. Rejection, fear of rejection, two of them. Interesting. Ellie, I hope you're making notes of these guys, because there's some talks in these. Each answer here, we could spend an hour just talking on. Losing the imaginary security. Now, there's a brilliant word, imaginary, self-belief. Kathryn, thank you. So I'm going to share a story with you tonight. A story about fear. A story about, not in fact, comfort, but discomfort. You see, it's not necessarily the comfort zone that's going to keep you there. But what I found was that the comfort zone was actually the most uncomfortable place I could ever be. But at the time, I didn't realize it. Now I look back and realize how restrictive that actually was. So I'm going to share a story with you. And the reason why I want to share this with you is that over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing some talks on mental wellness in the workplace. Now, what's that got to do with what we're talking about tonight? A lot. So mental wellness, your mental health is a massive thing, especially when it comes to stress, anxiety, and burnout in the workplace, be it that you work for yourself or that you're working in corporate. And it's all been driven this month because the World Health Organization, who I must make note, I very rarely agree with them. This time I actually do, when they bring into the forefront the importance about good mental health. And isn't that what this is all about? When we break down this comfort zone and you start looking at the answers that you've given here now about fear, about your fear of rejection, about what's keeping you there, what's keeping you stuck, this leads to stress. And that's when you start to realize, as what I did, that my comfort zone was actually an extremely stressful place to be. And when you are remaining in stress for a long period of time, you become anxious. Anxiety means that there is no specific stressor in that moment, but because you're living in that stressful situation ongoing, you're now becoming anxious. After anxiety, you're anxious for a long time, leads to burnout. And that's very much my story. I used to have, this is when I worked in corporate, this is 5.5 years ago now, plus, beautiful home. That's our home in Blauberg in Cape Town, just down the road from the beach. Stunning home, loved it. It was our peace and tranquility. Friends and family would come there, they'd walk to the front door, and all their stresses would just leave them because we'd built this absolutely beautiful, tranquil, could have been a resort all on its own. It was amazing. We had, from my job, more than enough money to pay all the bills and have plenty of cash left over to live a very comfortable, easy life. We had a beautiful home. We had overseas holidays. It was every year. We went away every 2-3 months for long weekends. I had plenty of extra. And this is how I fell into a comfort zone. So from the outside in, people saw a successful business guy, that he was highly energetic, yes, stressed, but aren't all successful corporate business people stressed? Isn't that an identity that we put on them? That if you're not stressed and you're not able to handle the stress, then you shouldn't be at the top. It's a huge challenge. So I was from the outside. People saw successful holidays, weekends away. We never had expensive cars. My car that I used to drive was a 1996 Jeep. I loved it. It was the best thing ever because we spent our money on lifestyle things, on holidays and going away on a beautiful home. But people saw a successful person. They saw somebody comfortable. On the inside, different story. I was living in a fog of stress. All I can describe it was my brain was just foggy. For the first 2 hours, if I managed to sleep very long, first 2 hours after I woke up, don't have a conversation with me. I couldn't think straight. The brain was just not operating. Lack of sleep, living in a constant stress state and fearing every time my phone rang. At one point, I was a little bit mad, I think, now looking back at it. The MD of the company, his ringtone was the Jaws theme. So every time he rang, it was doo-doo, doo-doo. Used to drive until I realized, let me turn that off. That in itself is causing me stress because I knew who it was, and now there's the stress tone of Jaws. But my relationship with my son was struggling. Even though we spent time going away when I was with my wife, our relationship was not good because even when we were on holiday, I worked. We'd be overseas, I'd be working. We'd go away for weekends, I'd be working. On weekends, I would be working. At night, I'd be working. It never stopped. Emotionally, mentally, physically, I was a wreck. But I was in a comfortable zone. This is why I say my comfortable zone was my most uncomfortable place that I've ever been. This photograph on the screen there was taken, you can see the date. That was taken the night I walked out. I'd had enough. I couldn't handle it anymore. I knew either I was going to kill somebody, I was going to die, or I was going to get divorced. And I was not happy with any of those. I tried going to my boss, the MD of the company, and telling the situation. That did not go well. That was it. I had to call quits. I was in such a bad state. I couldn't even drive home. I pulled over at the side of the road that was taken by the beach in Blauberg, and I sat on the tarmac. I don't know for how long. And I thought, I need to take a photograph of this, because in future, I'm going to remember this night as the night that was the beginning of my change. This is when I started to create a completely different reality for myself. I knew something had to change. This comfort, it was not worth it. Does this resonate with you at all? Somebody sitting there going, I know this, or I know somebody who is in a situation like this. I can see that in somebody. So I'm going to ask you to turn to your question, to your keyboards there. In fact, go with the fingers again. What is your greatest source of stress at work? Be it you're working for yourself or that you actually have a job. What's your greatest source of stress? Just a quick type in there. Is it your boss, the staff, your deadlines, the workload, the people? It's an interesting one, that one. The people. We need them, but they're our greatest form of stress. What is causing you during your day the greatest source of stress? Employees. I get that. Money. Now I'm self-employed, but when I was employed, the people too. Aren't we people? If I missed something, if I missed something there. Yes. Definitely experienced that similar experience in my previous job, Carol. Yeah. Right. It's reality. So now you're starting to look and saying, what's your greatest source of stress? What is your greatest fear? In your work environment, what are you most scared of? Finances. I stress not closing enough sales. I relate. What is your biggest fear? Fear of failure. Not getting any more sales, more money. Failure, not making enough sales. Big one, this. You see, stress, keep typing there. Stress and fear are extremely closely interrelated. Stress often arises from various factors, including the perceived threats or challenges. And when you have these perceived threats or challenges, they cause a reaction, a fear response in your body. This is called fight or flight. Cortisol and adrenaline are stress hormones, which then rush through your body. So your stressor originates from fear. Write this down. I've said already there's 3 different levels you've got of sort of nervousness, if you want. Stress, anxiety, and then that's after anxiety is when you actually have burnout. But here's the thing about anxiety. Write this one down. Anxiety is actually fear of the future. Anxiety is actually fear of the future. And that quote I got from Karen Clark, a quantum physicist. I thought that was quite impactful, because when you understand fear, the fear is just a fear of something that may or may not happen in the future. Then you look back and you go, how can I be fearful of it? So when we start having a look at what is your stressor, your stress is what's stopping you from moving outside your comfort zone, keeping you in an uncomfortable zone. But what's the cause of your stress? The cause of your stress is fear. If you're saying in a work environment that I'm not hitting my sales targets, what's your fear? Your fear is you won't get the bonus. So that's what's causing the fear. Whereas now, if you start to break down the fear, and I'm going to ask you to change your paradigm when it comes to fear and how we look at fear. Fear is a significant component in the stress response. If you manage your fear, you can then control your own reality. We all fear failure. We've got that written here. It is that fear that equates to the stress. And when you have this fear, you are resistant. When you're resistant, it leads to anxiety, it leads to burnout. When you let go of the fear and you start to embrace it, you're changing how you're thinking about it, how you're seeing it, and you accept it fully, what then happens next? If you say, well, I can lose my job, I lose my promotion. Okay, so break it down. How bad is that? Are you going to die? Has anybody before in the entire world that you know or in the universe around us ever lost their job before? Ever not hit their bonuses? have they survived? If you take away the energy, the power of that fear, you're starting to change the dynamic and the stress starts to fall away. Because you start to realize that other people have survived. And the way that we're going to be doing this is called accept and redirect. If you take every obstacle, hurdle, stressor, fear as a sign, you turn it positively, you go, there's a reason why I'm feeling like this. And you accept it. It becomes the antidote to resistance. Then you can start to get out the way. You no longer have this negative energy. By nature, we're programmed to focus on the bad. We all understand that. That's where we get stressed. It seems that it's so easy to think on the bad circumstances versus the good circumstances. It seems to be how we're programmed. But when you start to look at all of these little things, it's a blessing in disguise. And you can start to then focus on what you want. When you get good at it, then anything is possible. I'm going to jump forward here. There's a saying. We label ourselves. When you're stressed, you say, I am stressed. I am anxious. I am angry. And when you have an I am statement, Ellie knows this very well. An I am statement reinforces, and then your subconscious mind goes, okay, you are. What if you change some of your terminology? Instead of saying I am stressed, say I feel stressed. This is a stressful situation. You're not owning it. You are not stressed. The circumstances around you are creating stress. So again, just having a look at how do we change our paradigm? How do we change how we see things? So what can you do to go ahead and prevent this? Now, you've got three ways. You can go with the flow. And when you go with the flow, this is when you're a victim. You're blaming others. You're blaming the boss. You're blaming the government. You're blaming COVID. You're blaming the economy. You're blaming people. You're blaming, I don't know, your spouse, whoever it may be, all circumstances. And then when you're blaming and you're pointing fingers, you can do nothing about it. Or you can go with the flow. Now, when you go against the flow. Now, when you go against the flow, this takes a huge amount of energy. Huge amount of energy. It's a battle. It's a struggle. But when you learn to redirect the flow in a similar way to a sailor redirects the sails according to the change in the wind, now you start to take control. Now you're starting to change the paradigm of how you're looking at it. And you do this by accepting it and redirecting it. You acknowledge it, you don't ignore it. As Tiger Woods says, it doesn't matter what happens in this shot. It's always about the next shot. So what can you do in your daily routine? When you look at stresses in your daily routine, it's not what happens to you that matters. It's about how you react to what happens to you. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So you can do exercise, healthy diet, supporting your family, support from your family, meditation and medication. Now, isn't it interesting that meditation and medication have only got one letter difference between them, but they're such vastly different things. I put those together on purpose. Stopping negative thoughts, breathing exercises, and stress regulation. Now, later on, I'm going to come back on and talk to you a little bit more about breathing exercises and stress regulation. In fact, here's another thing that I agree with the World Health Organization on. As I said before, not many things, but this I do. When they've identified, and they say that learning relaxation techniques, and I'm going to read here, such as slow breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, developing a habit of mindfulness meditation, even if it's just a few minutes a day. So I'm going to talk to you just now about focusing on our breath. I'm going to come back to you just now. And then I'm going to share with you an offer that I have. So are you mindful or mindful? So I'm going to now, so let me just get onto sharing my screen, because I'm going to come back to you with a little bit more information a little bit later on. For now, I'm going to introduce you to Kathryn Horler. Now, Kathryn, I've had the pleasure of meeting a number of times. She's based in the UK. I actually met her through a group in Australia, interestingly enough. And I love her story. So Kathryn's a qualified genetic scientist, and she spent several years in research labs before branching out into entrepreneurship. And she's an experienced network marketing professional, managing her own property portfolio and facilitating the gold standard in personal growth programming. She's committed to helping individuals overcome hardship and rediscover their inner strength, rebuild their lives, and create a future filled with fulfillment and purpose. And this is very much part of her story. So,
Thank you, Tim.
Kathryn, I'd like to hand over the microphone to you. Take it away.
Thanks very much. And good evening, everyone. So as Tim said, yeah, my name's Kathryn Horler, and as you can probably hear from my accent, I'm based in the lovely South Wales in the UK. So what I'm going to share with you tonight, and you're going to resonate with some of the things that Tim's already said, you're going to see some of those in my story. So essentially, I want to take you on a journey through life, more specifically, my journey through life so far. Okay, we're going to cover situations which I'm sure many of you are going to be familiar with. And what I'd like to do is share with you the important lessons that I've learned from some of these situations. Okay, so I'm hoping that what I will achieve is to inspire you to step out of that comfort zone, which we've already discussed what it is, and look at the fear that's stopping you. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen online, fear generally takes two forms. You can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And Tim's already touched on the fear that stops us getting out of the comfort zones. But once you've actually got to the other side of that fear, then I think you're going to look back and think, do you know what? I know exactly what fear means now. It means it's false evidence, which appeared real at the time. And as Tim's already said, we get anxiety from expecting things to happen in the future. And they do say that 90% of what people worry about happening in the future never actually happens. But we spend so much time worrying ourselves silly about those things which aren't likely to happen. Okay, so what I'd really, really like for all of you at the end of this, I'd like to inspire you to be bigger, to go out and do some of those things that currently you might be a little bit afraid of doing. Because realistically, to be successful and grow, you need to embrace the death of that person that was and give birth to that new you. And it's possible for us all. And I know people do stand there and say, if I can do it, you can do it. And I've been on the receiving end of that. But I do understand now, realistically, if I can do it, then anyone can do it. It just takes some courage. So let's take you on that journey. I was going to ask at this point, what do people understand by comfort zones? But Tim's already covered that. So I'm going to take us back. So when we're born, our comfort zone there really is determined by our caregivers. Because I'm sure we're all aware, if you take a baby away from the parents who are the main caregivers, after a little while, or maybe automatically, that baby will cry because at that moment, it's out of its comfort zone. It doesn't perceive anything more. And then as we grow, we're influenced by all the people around us. Parents, or those main caregivers, or as we go through school, teachers. So we're influenced by everyone, every single person around us. And that's what determines the beliefs that get kept up there, stored up there. And as I've already said, they quite often can be quite false. So for an example, if someone were to say to you when you were growing up, please don't sing, you're an awful singer. Now that may just need to be said to you once, or it may need to be said to you over and over again. But at some point, that will then stick with you and you fully believe that you can't sing. And if somebody does ask you to sing, it will be, oh my goodness, no, I'm not stepping out of that comfort zone. So from your perspective, and the audience out there, could you type in the chat some of the things that you will identify with, resonate with, that you heard growing up, that maybe now you're thinking of, do you know what? And it doesn't have to be singing, obviously, but maybe you've tried to sing now and you realize, well, actually, okay, I haven't got a Celine Dion voice, but I can sing, I can hold a tune. What sort of things have you come across that have stopped you? And now you're looking back, you're thinking, do you know what? Why do I have those beliefs? Anybody? Okay, we can even go as far as to school. You know, who would put their hand up in a class if they don't know the answer? All right, sorry, I can see your answers now. No good at maths. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my dad was high achiever in science and maths. Yeah, we're not all the same, are we? Do you know? And you do tend to find you're creative or you're scientific. And just because your parents are good at maths and science, it doesn't mean to say that you might not be good at music or art. Sadly, I was never good at art, but that's my own belief, I guess. Past programming for parents and grandparents. Yeah, exactly. It just comes from everywhere, doesn't it, really? And certainly in school, no one's going to stick their hand up when the teacher asks who knows the answer to this question, unless maybe it's the class clown. Okay, they might have a go. But the thing is, for those people who did put their hand up and get the wrong answer, do you think maybe next time it would take them a lot longer, A, to put their hand up, but what they've actually learned from that is actually the right answer, and that will probably stay with them for an awful lot longer. So Tim talked about failure earlier, but as we grow up, in order to learn things, a baby doesn't stop walking because it falls over once. It keeps on trying. When we learn to ride a bike, we keep on trying, but we learn through failure. And I think the thing that's been taught us coming through school is we all need to learn by success, but you only get successful by moving through those failures. Okay, so recently I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and she couldn't really understand why her grown-up daughter felt really, really comfortable going outside her house. And it was only when she questioned her further that she found out that it all stemmed from when they lived in a flat years ago when she was small. Her dad once caught her in the corridor playing. She didn't really have a good reason for being in the corridor, so she got told off. And that was enough to now make her feel uncomfortable for going outside. So as you see, it doesn't have to be time and time again told the same thing. We're all different. And it could take us being told once, it could take us being told 100 times. But it all then gets ingrained in there. We start to believe it, and that builds our comfort zone. Okay, so back to my story. As Tim's already said, I went to school. I did reasonably well in school. I went to university. I became a genetic scientist. I worked in a hospital locally for many years in various research labs, loved my job, life was comfortable, as Tim's already alluded to. But as I was doing my master's degree, I actually got really interested in IT. Now, I didn't have any skills in IT. Now, I'm going to ask you just one word at the moment. If I were to say the word sales, what actually comes to people's minds? Making a living, money, products. Okay. Money. Okay. Money, money. Okay. For lots of people, sales is just a really awful word, and it really brings in for anyone who's here in the UK, I would say the double glazing salesman, and it's a real turn off. But I think what people don't really understand is even when we go for jobs, we're using sales. We're all in sales at the end of the day, even if it's just to sell ourselves. And I think most people think when you go for a job, it's the skills which are paramount. Now, I just said I didn't have any skills in IT, but I wanted to work in the IT industry. So I applied for jobs anyway. And the company that took me on actually based it on personality and the personability rather than those skills. Because at the end of the day, you can teach skills. It's far more difficult to change people's personability. Okay, so I moved to IT, so I rocked the boat with no skills. Sadly, within a month of taking that job, so I took on the job to be in PC support there, talking to people, the company reshuffled. And I was moved into a role which bore no resemblance whatsoever for the role I'd moved there. That was a huge, huge step out of my comfort zone, and it wouldn't have been the job that I would have applied for. But forced into those situations, we sink or swim, don't we, really? So it was a case of, let's give this a go. Let's have the courage to step out. Did I pull through? Well, I guess I wouldn't be here now telling you this if I didn't. I spent many years in IT, and I loved my jobs. They were challenging, they were satisfying, they were fulfilling. But there was something nagging at the back of my mind because I wanted to do something for myself. I really felt I had more to give, but I really, really didn't know what that was. Again, can I just ask you, have any of you ever felt that, yes, you're okay doing what you're doing, but there's something just lying in the background there? You may not know what it is, but it's there. Yeah. Yeah. And we've all got that gift that we really want to share. Yeah, exactly. And again, going back to what Tim alluded to earlier with being comfortable, successful, by now I had a husband, we had 2 young children, we were comfortably off. But like most people, we couldn't afford for me to change career, lose my salary. So felt really, really trapped. And again, I'm sure there's probably some of you in the audience that can identify with that as well. You know, there doesn't really seem to be anywhere to go. Couldn't make that decision myself, but lo and behold, the universe presented me with the answer. Redundancy. The decision was taken away from me. And what I found, I decided that I was not going to go back and work as an employee ever again. But it was really difficult to make that decision to become an entrepreneur because that employee inside me, as we discussed earlier, had to die. But I made a decision. But when I speak with other people trying to have that mind shift from employee to entrepreneur, it's the most really difficult thing that most people find to overcome. Because behavior follows our thoughts. Those thoughts are habitual, and we just become used to things, uncomfortable, as Tim's already said. I was introduced then to multi-level marketing or network marketing. Now, hopefully, people in the audience will actually understand and have come across this model before, but essentially, we get paid to help others, whether it's with products or services, and there's 2 strings to our bow. We can gather customers or we can introduce partners and help them become successful. And the model really reminds me of what Winston Churchill said about we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And the network marketing model for me fills that prophecy. But I had lots and lots to overcome. Lack of support, particularly from my husband at the time, and maybe from lots of people around me. But the lesson I learned is while we're worrying about the other people, what other people think about us, which really is none of our business, because it's their perception, they're too busy worrying about what we think of them. The second lesson is to take advice and learn from someone who's actually trodden that path you want to take. Because anyone else's advice is just their opinion. People tend to turn to their friends and family because they think they've got their best interests at heart, which they have, but they've probably never trodden that path. So it's always good to go to those people who have. And again, talking about your environment beats your will every single time. And what's it mean? We need to surround ourselves with a supportive peer group, because that's the key to success. And the great thing about the multi-level marketing industry is it does have a very positive peer group that you can step into. So that multi-level marketing introduced me to personal development, which is what's brought me here today. And it really, really helped me through the next stage of my life, which ended up in a divorce. Now, we're all emotional beings rather than logical, and when emotions are heightened, we don't always make good decisions, and that's the thing with fear. If I were to ask people, again, would you mind putting in the chat, if I mentioned abuse in physical relationships, what forms of abuse can you think of? How many can you think of? Most people jump to the immediate one, which is physical abuse, but there are many more forms of abuse as well. Emotional, yep. Mental, spiritual. Okay. Yeah, for me, the fear of being on my own, having been with that partner for the best part of 30 years, was just worse than trying to mend that broken relationship, despite the emotional and the financial abuse. But the lesson that came out of that for me was I took ownership of me. Now, we as women in particular, and I'm not excluding the men here, but women in particular, if you ask them who they are, it will be, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, I'm a daughter, and it's not usually about themselves. But it was time to be me. And once I took that responsibility, I was able to walk away and step into what is now my new life. And the last lesson I learned, and this has come through the personal development that I've done fairly recently, was the importance of forgiveness. Now, I'm not implying condoning anything, but is it a real key step to leaving behind the past? And I think, do you know what? It's not any person outside ourselves. The hardest person to forgive, quite often, is ourselves. But once I'd done that, I've moved on. The last lesson I'd like to share with you, really, and I don't know if any of you have this situation where I have 2 children. As any mum would like, you want your children to get on. Now, my 2 are like chalk and cheese, despite being brought up together. Very similarly, I would say. But recently, over the last few years, they've fallen out big time. And it's really, really not what any mum would want. And I've tried solving their issues. I've, what I would now say, interfered. And it culminated in my son's wedding recently, where my daughter originally said she was going and at the last minute said she wasn't, which, if any of you have ever tried to arrange a wedding, yeah, it was not the best situation. Frosty doesn't even touch it. But I decided that was it. That was my last chance. There was nothing else I could do. So I let go of the whole situation. I lowered the importance and just thought, you know, it's their journey. They have to solve everything. And I'm really, really pleased to say that my daughter ended up going to the wedding. We had a fantastic day, but it was a really, really big lesson for me. So in closing, I'd like to say, if you want success, you need to try, you need to step out of that comfort zone, you need to learn and learn from those mistakes. We will make mistakes, but just look at them as learning experience. We adapt and then we try again. Because like I've said, our biggest teacher is failure. So I've joined up with a personal development program, and the mentor on there is a guy called Peter Sage, who you may never have heard of. He's a British guy, but he was one of Tony Robbins, who I'm sure you've heard of. He was one of his trainers for many, many years. So I'm just now looking to pay this forward through sharing not just my story, but things that I've obviously learned through that program. And part of that is when you're looking at a goal, rather than looking at what you need to do to achieve that goal, you also need to look at who do you need to become to be worthy of achieving that goal, which is far, far more powerful. And hopefully what you've got from this is that mindset is key. We've all got something inside of us waiting to get out. So I wish to you, if something that I've said tonight has inspired you to step out of your comfort zone, I really hope you'll get in touch with us and share that with us in your feedback. So don't let procrastination and self-doubt get in the way. Just go for that courage and do it. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you very much to Tim for putting me out of my comfort zone this evening and inviting me on this call. Thank you, everyone.
Kathryn, that's amazing. Guys, share with her. Share with Kathryn. She absolutely opened up her heart to you. I could feel her energy change. I could feel the pain. I could feel her joy as well. Share with her. What did that mean to you? Put in the chat box there so she can actually see it. That was brilliant, Kathryn. And you really did sink home some truths, a couple of things that I said, and you dug deeper into them, which was absolutely amazing. I know this was outside of your comfort zone, but you would never have known it. If you didn't say it, nobody would know that. So congratulations for actually doing that thing that you were scared of, that fear was holding you back. And you said, I'm going to change how I look at this. And all through your story, every time that you had this challenge, you changed the paradigm. You changed how you saw it. You reframed that circumstance in that comfort zone, being pushed out of it with retrenchment. And my story the same. Being let go was the best thing that ever happened to me when it first happened in 2008. And when I was let go, then I turned around and I said, what else can I do? And I was introduced to network marketing. And network marketing was my access and avenue into personal development. So there you go. How's that for synergy? I relate directly to that. You dropped some beautiful nuggets there. And
thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be authentic. Thank you.
It's that genuine authentism is a crucial one. So thank you. Who do you need to become to achieve your goal? Yes. Forgiveness, not forgiveness necessarily of others, forgiveness of self. You spoke some real ones there. And right at the beginning, you spoke about the big thing. 90% of what we worry about that keeps us in that uncomfortable place actually never happens. It's possibly even more than that. And the 10% that maybe does happen, the question that comes, and Ellie can feed straight into this, would mean that maybe the 10% came was because you created it anyway, based upon the law of attraction. And isn't that what it's all about as well? So I'm going to be introducing you, as we say, thank you very much to Kathryn. We're going to hear from her just now. To Ellie Javitz, the success mindset coach. So he's a high-performance transformational life coach working with the legendary Bob Proctor. And Ellie brings to the table a beautiful background of entrepreneurship, very successful entrepreneur, businessman, 30 years in business, working for himself, for other people, in sales, in finance. He's got an expertise in health and wellness. He's got an amazing story when it comes to his personal health. I hope he's going to share it tonight. And about self-image, self-esteem. And that really helps him to break down and work with professional people and helping them give quantum leaps in success easier and faster than they ever had before. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Ellie. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to Kathryn for sharing what she has. It was an amazing, a lot of similarities that I kind of heard and picked up on. Like Tim said, who do you have to become, right? Who do you have to become to get what it is that you want? And one thing that Tim encouraged me to share a little more, which is what I want to do today, is kind of my story. Not just, up to now, we've been doing a lot of the workshops and I've been teaching basically the things that I've been blessed to learn from my mentor, Bob Proctor, and through the many years of self-development. But more so, through conversation, he said, hey, Ellie, why don't you share how did it work for you? What happened in your life when you stumbled onto this? And that's exactly what I want to do today. And I think it'll be appropriate because we're talking about making change. And one of the things that I learned early on when I got into self-development is change for the mind is equivalent to torture to the body. Psychology has proven that. Your mind does not want change. Simple as that. Your mind wants to keep you where you are because it believes that you're safe where you are, not knowing what's on the other side of the fence, not knowing what's on the other side of whatever it is that you want to go out there and do and explore. But interestingly enough, from one of the greatest writers of all times, one of my mentor's most favorite authors, Thomas Troward. He was a genius when it came to the workings of the mind and how spirit works and things like that. And he said in a quote, "My mind is a center of divine operation." And then he followed that by saying, the divine operation is always for expansion and greater expression. So every single one of us, every single person here today, every single person watching, every single person with a pulse and a heartbeat, their only objective in life is greater expression and greater expansion, because you are a part of divine. And that is the only sole purpose for the divine. The universe is constantly expanding, constantly. Energy is constantly flowing. And yet us, in our tiny little speck of world, in our little body, are locked up because of our beliefs, because of our limitations, and because of things that we keep telling ourselves. I can't, I won't, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't know enough. What if I fail? What if somebody laughs at me? Kathryn shared, what will others think? What do I care what others think? The only thing that matters is what I think of myself, not what others think of myself. But yet that's the problem, because sometimes I'm thinking of myself or about myself what others thought and instilled in me. And that's where the problem comes in. That's where the comfort zone stems from. We end up doing whatever it is that we're doing. Every one of us has experienced discomfort when we first started our job, our career, our business, whatever it is that you're doing. Think about it. Think about the first time you rode a bike. Think about the first time you learned to drive a car. I mean, talk about a discomfort. Wow. I remember I used to drive the car and my hands were literally, I had to take napkins to wipe my hands. They were so sweaty, the palms. That's discomfort. That's out of my comfort zone because I had to learn how to drive. What about when I first opened the business? What about when I first got into sales? What about when I first got into public speaking? Those are all getting out of our comfort zone, and they're all scary because we haven't done it before, because the mind is scared of change. And the whole purpose of us wanting to get out of our comfort zone, I mean, for perfect example, for Tim, for Kathryn, for myself, I realized I wanted something more because the little voice inside, the little dot in our heart that is always for expansion and greater expression, started to speak to me. That's the reason why Tim decided, you know what? Enough with this job, enough with the stress it's causing me, because something inside of him wanted more, wanted different, wanted better. Better is a beautiful word, by the way. We always want better. We always want more because that's our nature. And the thing that keeps us sometimes from getting there is our fears. There's a great saying, I think it's a biblical thing. I'm not one for religion, but it said, fear knocked on the door, faith opened it, and lo and behold, there was no one there. Right? So a lot of times, as Kathryn shared, a lot of times our fears, or I think Tim mentioned it, is something that's not even like it's in the future, and most of them don't show up. So we're always worried about what will happen. We're scared of the future, and yet a lot of what we're scared of doesn't even come to fruition unless we make it so. In my experience, what happened is, I went from, once I finished college, I opened up a store. And I actually opened up 2 stores. And I kind of followed in my father's steps. He had a pawn shop. I opened up a store with a partner of mine. We ended up opening up a second store. And then eventually what happened is the entire block was taken down and they put a building up. So, I was in my comfort zone. I was comfortable because it became second nature to me. I ran it for 10 years. I was comfortable with it. I knew what I was doing. Every morning I came, it was routine, nothing to be scared of, nothing to be worried about. The only thing that I had to do was figure out, hey, what am I going to do today? How many sales am I going to have today? And then all of a sudden, the change came without me even knowing. All of a sudden, I got a notice, they're building a new building, all the stores got to shut down. So I was once again forced to get out of my comfort zone and move on to something new. One of the new businesses that I opened was an investment firm where I joined with a couple of partners. We raised a lot of money and things were great. We were making money hand over fist. I knew nothing about self-development. I couldn't care less. All this spiritual stuff, all this mind stuff, who cares? Money's coming in, let's just go. And then all of a sudden, exact same situation. From the rug was swept from underneath me. Nothing to do with me. It was out of my control. It had to do with the whole 08, 09 US crash and finances, and long story, I'm not going to get into that. The point is, I was forced once again to get out of my comfort zone, to get out of what I knew I was doing, and stumble into something completely different and completely new. And I understand now why there's so much fear behind that. I understand why people want to stay in their comfort zone, because it's actually scary. What if I lose the security that I have with my job? I got a pay coming in, my bills are being paid, and now I'm not going to have that anymore. How do I know that when I go for what I really want or step out of my comfort zone, I'm going to be okay? Well, guess what? You're going to be okay. I was okay. Everyone's okay. We're spiritual beings. We're here for a very little short time period, and we always think we can get it wrong. How can you get it wrong? You come from no thing, you have no beginning and no end. You're infinite. Who cares what's going to happen? There will always be something better as long as we believe in ourselves and believe in that power that we have. And this is why, when I first met with Tim, I was like, yeah, I want to share this. I want to share this information that I learned when I jumped into self-development, because it helped me deal with a lot of things that came up in my life. Only after I lost my businesses, only after I found myself on the verge of bankruptcy from being a millionaire, I stumbled into self-development. And that helped me realize many things about myself. Like, for example, that there's a voice inside my head that all it wants to do is express itself and expand to greater heights. For those of you who are on the call, let me ask you this. At this point, you obviously want something more than where you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching us. You wouldn't be listening to us. You would just go about your business, and that's it. But what is it that you actually want? Let's put it in the chat. Are you looking for more money? Are you looking for more abundance, freedom? I know for me, it was about money. Every business I ever opened, every move I ever made, it was because I wanted more money. Because that's, to me, was the number one thing. I wanted more riches. I see here abundance in all areas. Great answer. And now, these days, I have a different approach to that, a different mental state. But at first, it was all about just money. I wanted more money. That's it. Improve myself and the rest will follow. Absolutely true. So I discovered a little while ago, and I shared this with Tim, that I actually found out because I had a rare recording from Napoleon Hill. This is the person that wrote Think and Grow Rich. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that book. If you're not, you definitely should read it. Napoleon Hill had a live seminar, and I heard him speaking, and in which he said that there are 12 things that he discovered along his research of interviewing 500 of the most successful people in the world, of what they constituted for riches. And I want to share that list with you today. I want to go over it a little bit, because I had a great new awakened understanding about this. And I hope you guys will realize the same, because what he shared, let me just put on the screen here. As I said, I was always about the money. I thought riches and success, you want to know if you're successful, you measure it by money. How much money you have. Are you doing more? Did you make more this year than last year? Everything was always measured by numbers. And what I realized is that that's the way society has built us. Everyone wants us to go to school, study, get a good job, work our life, make whatever money we're making, and kind of just stay neutral at that. But here's the interesting part. One of the most famous people that interviewed some of the most successful people in the world realized that out of the 12 things that constitute real riches, that make people truly live an abundant and happy life, money is on the last of the list. Right? If you look at this, I'll just share this one sec. Oh, the screen's frozen. Money is on the last of the list. And I never realized that until I started thinking about it. And this is where I wanted to share with you what the information that I share with you guys on the other workshops, and today we're going to go a little bit over that as well, has helped me in many areas of my life. And what I realized is a few of the things I did on an unconscious level. I was telling Tim a story where at the age of 16, I found out about working out, weightlifting. And I decided at 16 that this is the body I'm going to live with until the day I die. I mean, young, healthy, fit. I want to have a six-pack until the day I die. That's the vision I built in my head. That's the power that's possible for anyone who wants to make a change in their life. Whether it's your health, your relationship, your finances, it doesn't matter. It all works exactly the same. If you decide what you want and you're willing to take the shot, to go for it and do whatever is required in order to achieve it, it will happen in your life. And it'll happen very quickly in your life and very consistently if you don't doubt yourself. Let's go through this list and I'll show you how what I've been sharing with you guys in the workshops and what I'm going to share with you today has helped me achieve all 12 of these things. I didn't even realize it. Bringing your attention to number one, it says a positive mental attitude. And Napoleon Hill said, observe that this heads the list. Every successful person that's noteworthy to mention in history and in current times will tell you positive mental attitude is the number one thing. Because with a positive mental attitude, you can do anything. You can be anyone and you can have anything you want. Because with a positive mental attitude, I said this in the last workshop, the facts don't matter. Whatever is going on in your life, whatever you think the government is doing or the world is doing or the businesses are doing, it doesn't matter. When you have the right mental attitude, you are the creator of your own reality. Number two, sound physical health. This is the one that I decided at 16, almost 40 years ago, and it is proven to work. I decided I'm going to have sound physical health and a fit body till the day I die. And that was ingrained inside of my subconscious, and it just stayed. It never changed. Harmony in human relations. Imagine how important it is, before anything else, if you have harmonious relationship with anyone you meet, everywhere you go, everyone you meet today, everyone you associate with, everyone you do business with, if you have harmony with them and a total connection with them, imagine what that would do in your life, in your business, in your finances. Number four, freedom from fear. We talked a lot about fear today. We also talked about how most of us have experienced fear, but have conquered fear by doing what it is that we're fearful of doing. Like Kathryn, she, was perhaps afraid of public speaking. I was for sure afraid of the camera and public speaking. I took on that challenge. I overcame that fear. And today, this is what I'm doing. The hope of future achievement. Hope is what gets you past anything that comes up in life. Hence that quote. Fear knocked on the door. Hope opened it. Faith opened it. A person who has hope for their future and what is to come can do many things that they're not thinking can be done. The capacity of applied faith, they kind of go hand in hand. If you have faith and you have high hopes for your future, those two go hand in hand, and they will help you overtake whatever fear might be keeping you in your comfort zone or wherever it is that you're stuck in your life. Willingness to share one's blessings with others. I was taught a long time ago that givers gain. When you are willing to share whatever blessings you have with others, everything you want will come to you. Everything will happen in your life. Number 8, to be engaged in a labor of love. Imagine how amazing that is if every day you get up and you love what you do. You're excited to go out into the world, go to work, share with others what it is that you want. A labor of love. Imagine the opposite of that. You could be making $1 million a year and hate every part of your life. Literally feeling nauseous and sick about what you have to do today for the next step and the next day, just because you're getting a big paycheck. So one of the biggest riches that I've discovered in my life is finding what I love to do and then dedicating my life to it. An open mind towards all subjects and all people. I was not open-minded. I did not come from the type of upbringing where open-mindedness was instilled in me. I discovered open-mindedness and the ability and desire to learn later on in life. And with that open-mindedness, I was open to all subjects and all people. It's what helped me in my sales career when I was working with windows and doors. I've walked in over 10,000 homes. And I've made peace and built relationships with every single one of those appointments. Imagine that. All different religions, different sizes, different colors, different beliefs, whatever it is, it didn't matter because I had an open mind and I moved towards it with all subjects and all people. Complete self-discipline. This is a big one. If you learn to have self-discipline in all areas of your life, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your finances, you will achieve everything that you want. I've achieved many things strictly because of my disciplines. And disciplines are sometimes hard. I mean, when I first heard about that word, I wanted to throw up. But eventually I realized the importance of it. And it's helped me create a life that is amazing in every way. I enjoy all three areas of my life. I have amazing health because I decided to, and I built the disciplines to do it. I have amazing relationship because I decided and I got disciplined in showing my love to my loved ones, sharing with them what's on my mind, asking them how they're doing, listening to them. And the same thing in business. It has helped me create many different things because of the disciplines. Wisdom with which to understand people. Imagine how amazing it is that as you discover who you truly are through these workshops, through studying yourself, through analyzing yourself and your limiting beliefs and changing them slowly, one by one, not monumental, step by step, every day, just do 1% better than you did before. Be a little bit kinder than you were before and become just a better version of yourself. You will start to understand people on a level that you can't even imagine because we're all the same. So the more I understand myself, the more I'm realizing and understanding others, and the more I can relate to others. And guess what? When I got number 1 through 11 straightened out in my life, number 12 took care of itself. Money is simply a byproduct that happens in your life from doing certain things in a certain way. That was actually something from one of my favorite programs that I've studied, which was The Science of Getting Rich. It was written by Wallace D. Wattles back in like early 1900. And it's actually the book that inspired the lady to do The Secret, the movie The Secret. And in that book, he said that getting rich or abundance and success doesn't come from doing certain things. It comes from doing things in a certain way. So it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing today. It doesn't matter what business you're in or career you're in. If you start doing things in a certain way, everything will change. You'll either explode in your current position, or you will naturally gravitate out of it into something else and make an amazing, amazing accomplishment and success there. If you start doing things in a certain way. What are those certain way? This is a pretty good list to go by. I've taken this list and I literally pinned it up on the wall and I remind myself every day I remind myself, Ellie, do you have a positive mental attitude? Are you approaching this day in a positive way? Are you going out into the world with the right attitude? Do I have sound physical health? Did I work out today? Did I take care of my body? Did I eat the right foods that give me sound physical health instead of taking a handful of pills because I don't have good disciplines? Harmony for human relationship. Am I harmonious with all those that I meet? The freedom from fear. Are my fears conquering me? Are they taking over my actions? Or am I conquering my fears? Am I moving into action regardless of what's holding me back? And each day I go through the list, step by step by step. I'm going to share this list with you guys. Tim will give you the information on how you can. And I highly recommend just examine yourself against each one of these. Because some of the most successful people in the world in history have come up with this list, have shared this with Napoleon Hill, and that's where it comes from. So I decided, you know what? If I want to become successful in every part of my life, if I want to enjoy riches, true riches, not just financial riches, then this is the list I got to live by. And when I did that, I'm going to share with you the stick person, as I always do. what I realized was how I'm able to take what it is that I learned and implement it into my life, implement it into a way where, sorry, let me just bring this up. I'm able to take that list and just ingrain it into myself by getting away from my limiting beliefs and my paradigms. You see, we all kind of been conditioned a certain way, to live a certain way, to think a certain way. We've been actually conditioned to live by our sensory factors. Most of us, 97% of the population, live by what they see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Our sensory factors. We look at something, we look at our bank account, we look at the situation that's going on, we look at the news, and that constitutes what we're going to be thinking. It's because our belief and our paradigms have taught us to think that way. And the interesting part is that because of our conditioned behavior, when we want to make a change, it backfires on us, or it creates fear, and that keeps us locked into the comfort zone until we get a new belief, until we desire something different, or until we're forced out of the business that we're in, and now we have no choice but to go do something different. So I've discovered new beliefs in myself, new ideas, but as long as I held them on my conscious mind, it didn't really manifest into anything. I was learning information, I was reaching out for more information, gathering whatever I could, but it was all on a conscious level. And then I started really studying this information, working with my mentor. And what I realized is, as I kept learning the information and kept living the information, moving out of my comfort zone, living by those 12 things that I just shared with you, that new belief became ingrained in me. It became a subconscious running program. That's why I was able to maintain my health, maintain my relationship, regardless of all the crazy stuff that I went through, and maintain my financial stability, even though I went on the verge of bankruptcy. Found myself in debt for over $500,000 with a brand new house, a new baby in my arms, newly remarried, and all of that was terrifying. It was definitely outside of the comfort zone. But when I introduced the new belief and started living by it, my behaviors changed. And when I aligned my behaviors, my actions changed. When I started changing my actions, the universe graciously started bringing reactions and changed my conditions, my circumstances, and my environment. Everything that I wanted started coming to me. One thing that I started to understand is what you want wants you. Whatever it is you want more freedom, you want more abundance, it wants you just as much. And in order for it to come into my life, I had to live in a certain way. And then I brought the results that I wanted. The one word that I learned it's called praxis. It's aligning your beliefs with your behaviors. Because a lot of times we believe we're capable of more. But if you look at our behavior, it seems like we're not believing our own self. Belief on a subconscious level, when you start to truly understand who you are and start to live in a different way, will create a new behavior. It'll change your entire personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. So if you don't like what you're seeing in your personal reality right now, just understand it's not a matter of whether you're good enough, smart enough, young enough, knowledgeable enough. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with your own faith in you and just going out there and stepping out into the world. Everything that you need will show up. Every person that you don't even know is coming into your life will show up. All the circumstances you require, all the help you require, even the finances you require will just start gravitating towards you. Although that sounds like a little airy-fairy right now, it's absolutely true. And my colleagues will tell you how true that really was in their own life. So I want to leave you with the message that whatever it is that you want to change in your life, just step out there and do it. Take the first step, the little tiniest of steps, and see what happens. Because once you get there, you'll see the next step.
Fantastic, Ellie. Always a pleasure listening to you guys. Round of applause for Ellie. Give him a thanks. Huge appreciation. Sharing your story, which you don't often do. And I had to push Ellie to do this and say, what is it? What do these lessons actually mean to you? And to hear his story that at the age of 16, he decided to have a six-pack until the day he died. And the fact is that he's never had a month, a week, a day without having had that body, the physique, the focus. That is a huge amount of mental focus and control. So thank you all very much. Thanks for sharing, Ellie. And it's been brilliant to hear Kathryn's story, your story. And I'm just writing some notes here. And isn't it interesting that the three of us made our most profound changes and movements and created the best portion of ourselves after having gone through huge strife, where the rug was literally pulled from out underneath us. We were forced outside of our comfort zone. And it begs the question, why do we act as human beings, typically only take action when pushed into a position of desperation? Why can't we take action out of inspiration? And you're sitting in a comfort zone now. You say, right, I need to be inspired to take action before I actually must, because somebody else is going to pull the rug from out of me. We saw 4 years ago what happened when for all of us, the rug was pulled out by the governments of the world. And it all shook us into great movement and great progress. And the more people I speak to, the more I begin to see and hear stories about how that has become or is becoming the best thing that ever happened to them.
Exactly.
Over and over again, out of our comfort zone, but pushed. So here's what I urge you to do. Don't wait to be pushed. Create that other income stream now. Focus on your physical, mental, spiritual, relationships. Any one of those 11 things, in fact, that Ellie had up there. Today, this week, this month, before you're forced into a position of desperation, be inspired to take action. That's where I'm seeing there's such a synergy between the three. So I'm going to quickly share one area before I'm going to ask you to open up for questions. And what I'd actually like to do is, I was doing it now when Ellie was finishing, and he came across money as the bottom part, as number 12. And I scrolled back up to the question I asked right at the beginning to find the answer of what's keeping people in a position of fear. What we're worried about is the lack of money. Yes, sales, but it's money. You need to meet and reach out to more people. Why? Because you need more sales. Why do you need more sales? More money. So here we are in a position of need, and we say our need is money. So we're focusing on what we need to do to get more money. Whereas the most successful people around the world are saying money is a byproduct. Don't focus on the money. Is there a lesson in all of this that perhaps we need to change our paradigm, change our thinking, change what's causing us? We're in a stressed state. We're focusing on the money. What if we changed how we looked at things? Would we then perhaps get a different result? And in the end, the result that you actually want. But it's a byproduct of everything else. Ellie had the money. He chased the money. Kathryn had the security of the job before it was taken away from her. But she had that security. I had the money. I was not wealthy by any means, but I had more than enough. I pulled the rug out from underneath me. Could have done it better ways, but still. So that's an overlying perspective. Let me get back into sharing my screen here of what I've just looked at and thought, this is very interesting. So what it is, back onto my screen here. Oh, where am I going? Yes, there we go. There we go. What I'd like to share with you, and what I'm going to actually offer every single one of you on the call here, some of you know this already, I think Ellie's even done one of my journeys and sessions, is when we're having a look at stress, and so much, wasn't it interesting as well? Here's another correlation between the three speakers tonight. Wasn't it interesting how each spoke on stress and fear and blocks? There was something internally that was stopping moving forward. We all spoke individually on that. That wasn't intentional. That was us each individually putting our stories together. When you came here to hear about how do I get out of my comfort zone, we end up by talking about stress, anxiety, blocks, trauma, bad experiences that force you to do something. So when I've been studying in through many years about how I could be more impactful for my clients' lives, I came to realize about a year and a half, maybe not a year and a half ago, but over a year ago now, that I need to focus on stress release. And my journey's taken me into studying breath work, more specifically, transformational breathwork journeys. And a transformational breathwork is all about the conscious connected breathing practice that helps to gain access to the subconscious mind, what Ellie speaks about, to release those blocks, the traumas, the past experiences, the past programmings, the stresses from the past, right from 11 generations. Trauma is carried in our DNA, scientifically proven. Now we carry all of this and we add all of our own crap on top of it, which creates blocks that doesn't allow us to move forward. So then you get comfortable and you say, I'm just going to stay here. And now you realize you're staying where you are out of fear. It's not comfortable. You're just scared of moving outside of it. So a transformational breathwork journey will help break all of that down. And here's the amazing thing. You say nothing. You breathe. So I'm going to offer all of you a free journey with me on the 2nd at 8 p.m. South Africa, which is 6 p.m. in the UK. You can either take your phone and scan that QR code, take you straight to the booking page, or I'll drop the link in the chats just now. Join me for a 60-minute transformational breathwork journey. I'm just going to close the screen here quickly. For this is going to be an area that's going to help you move outside of your comfort zone. That's going to help you break down those barriers and those blocks. And it's amazing how the synergies of what I've now been studying, which was completely outside of my comfort zone. I've never been a breathwork person until it was August, actually, it was August last year, July, August last year, that I first started to understand the power of breathing and breath. And now I'm a fully certified transformational breathwork guide. I offer that all to you. I'll drop it in the chat box there just now, along with a link I'm going to drop in there for the speaker score to rate. And here's I've actually added a couple of bonuses in here. Tell me if you'd like this. Who here would like, let me rephrase that question. Who here has never read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, but think it's a good book to read? Who would like to read that book? Who thinks it's a good book? Put in the comments there. You'd like that book? Think and Grow Rich. What if we gifted it to you tonight? Love to, Duncan. It's an amazing book. Essential reading, Kathryn says, without question. What about one of my all-time favorites? And Ellie spoke about it. There's 2 books he spoke about. And I've gone and dropped both of them as gifts to you guys. They were gifted to me. I'm gifting them to you. I'm passing it on. I've added them. So once you've gone into Speaker Score, you will then get access to these books. You can download them, free downloadable PDF files. The second book was written in 1902 by Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. And as he said, it was that book that Rhonda Burns read that led her to writing The Secret. And I'm sure most of us, you've heard of The Secret, the movie, and Bob Proctor even starred, and that was a big, big transition for Bob Proctor. He was in The Secret. Yeah, so she actually wrote that book after having read Wallace D. Wattles. This information that's being shared with you was known hundreds of years ago, published, but yet we're not taught it until you take yourself outside your comfort zone. Read these books. So I've gifted these both to you. Wallace D. Wattles is in there, and also Napoleon Hill's book. Take them, read them. I've actually printed, it was here somewhere, I think the wife's got it. I printed Science of Getting Rich into because I write notes. Wallace D. Wattles, I write notes. So I've added those in there for you. I'm going to put those in now. But we're here for you guys as well. We've got a beautiful amount of time to have a chat and a connection. So what I would love to do is open up to you while I put these couple of links into the chat box here for questions that you've got. Now, we're a small group, so you're welcome to unmute yourself. Put your hand up if you want to ask a question, or in the chat box there, something that has been mentioned by either three of us, or that you would like us to touch on, that you thought, I really would like to find out about this, but you haven't really spoken on it tonight? Why are we not taught this? Aaron, do you want to go down that rabbit hole? Because I know that Ellie and I can, and it's a dark, dark rabbit hole. Kathryn's even going, Yes, please ask your questions. I'm just going to quickly go over to my document here to pull up these links. So type your questions in there. All righty, no questions coming in. So the first one is...
Ellie, question for you.
Go ahead, Aaron.
In Bob Proctor's video, YouTube videos, the first video, he shares the book, the working book, and he refers to it in there, says you need to read page 8, okay? My question is, where can I get a hold of that book?
Which book?
When he did the seminars, you know, he's got the four parts on YouTube of the book. Are you aware of that?
I'm just not sure which book. Is it his own? Are you talking about You Were Born Rich?
You Were Born Rich, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
All right. In the first module of the 4 modules,
Uh-huh.
towards the end, okay, I think about 10, 15 towards the end, before he moves on to the second module, he specifically emphasizes you should read page 8, okay? Now, I thought it was in the transcript below, okay? It's not there. I'm just wondering, where can I lay my hands on that?
So
I'd love to get a hold of that.
if it's the You Were Born Rich book, no problem. I can send that to you. I can send you a PDF of it. If
I have got it already, yeah. That I've got.
Okay.
Okay.
Because he also mentions in You Were Born Rich, he was talking a lot about there's a segment where he goes on to talk about Genevieve Behrend. She was the only student of Thomas Troward. She wrote Your Invisible Power. So I'm not sure if he refers to a particular page from Invisible Power or You Were Born Rich.
He's actually talking in there, as I said, there's 4 sort of YouTube videos of it, okay? The first one, okay, where he worked with that other gentleman, I can't remember his name.
John Canary.
Yeah.
John Canary, yeah.
He came in the second half of it, and he actually went through the stick figure, all right? And the way he actually presented the stick figure, that people can actually relate and understand how it works, was also absolutely brilliant. But he says, before you go to the second video, which is about an hour and 20 minutes, he says, you need to read page 8 to understand what is going on.
So I'll watch it. I'll see what he's referring to, and then I'll get that to you. No problem.
Okay, I'd appreciate it. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because,
and to your question, why aren't we taught this in school? There's a few, theories behind that. There's a belief out there, especially from the secret societies and the truly wealthy people. I'm talking about the guys who control pretty much the world. They control the oil industry, the food industry, the drug industry, the big players. They don't want us knowing this stuff. They don't want us all being amazing creators of our own realities and our own success, because we just become more competition to them. So that's one theory. The other theory, and again, school, depending where, I was born in Russia, and at the age of 2, I moved to Israel, and I lived 10 years in Israel. When I came to Canada at the age of 12, and I went into grade 6 to the last month, because I didn't want to do a whole year over again. I just had to finish the last month of grade 6. The stuff they were teaching me in terms of math and things that I've learned I looked at it and it was a joke. I learned it in grade 2 in Israel. So it's a matter of the entire education system. It's an approach where it's a cookie cutter approach. And everybody's kind of taught the same. And not all of us learn the same. Not all of us are the same. My daughter, I have 2 girls. They're only 2 years apart. But my youngest daughter doesn't learn the same way as my older daughter.
Mhm.
She just simply gets things where the younger one is more visual. She needs to be explained a little bit differently, and then she grasps it. And school doesn't care. They're just like, here you go. Here's a book. Read it. Memorize it. And then we'll give you a test. And now you know it. You don't know nothing. You just memorized it.
I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of things in today's world, as a friend of mine, and he's always been a sort of high-tech theorist sort of person. Everything that we live by today is done by design, if you think about it. Okay?
That's it.
To your point, and what Tim touched on is we can make our own design. Now that we're learning this information, now that we're sharing this amongst ourselves, we're literally allowing ourselves to open up our minds and make our own design. So it doesn't really matter what's going on and what they have planned for us, right? Because we're just in charge of our own reality.
I agree.
Get back in a little bit, gents. Orange, I want to bring it back in a little bit. We don't want to go down that whole rabbit hole.
But I just want to say that we need to be able to understand what is actually happening behind this, to build that awareness as well, because there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand.
There is.
That's my personal view. Yeah, it with everything we've got in our life now.
That's it.
There is this whole sort of rolling thing that is happening. Yeah. And I think, let me just leave it there, because it involves the medical society, the pharma
That's
society.
it. This is what I'm saying.
The food industry. Yeah, what we.
That's right, Aaron. So what we don't want to do, as I've said, is we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right now. I want to bring it home a little bit. Carol's got a great question there.
Carol's got a great question.
That I want to jump in on. And to help her with. So the question came is, can you touch on when the stress comes from management? I work in a non-profit and feel that the stress from my exec director to make more sales and get more money fast. Then that makes me feel stressed. What is the best way to manage it? What I like about what you said there is that you said it makes me feel stressed. You didn't say I am stressed. That's already a good start. So you can imagine the pressure that your exec director is on. If he's putting that pressure on, if they're putting that much pressure on you, they're experiencing a huge amount of pressure. But here's what I shared earlier on. It's how you react to the situation that does or doesn't cause you stress. So is there a way for you to change that paradigm, to change how you're perceiving it? Just because he's stressed, it doesn't mean that you need to be stressed as well. If you know a couple of breathing styles, box breathing is just one of them, that can help you just stay a little bit calmer. Let me give an example. If you arrive at work, and maybe you can relate to this, Carol, if you can, then just give a thumbs up, or you say, no, it's never happened to me. If you arrive at work and you're feeling on top of the world, your morning's gone great, you got out of bed on the right side, you had a beautiful night's sleep, the kids, the husband, everything was just perfect. There was no traffic on your way to work. It was amazing. The coffee was made when you arrived. It was already there for you. Like, wow, this never happens. And you're on top of the world. And then your boss arrives stressed, and he comes and he says, but we need to get an extra more sales. But because you're in such a good state, because you're feeling free and joyous and happy, does his stressed state have as much as an impact on you as if you arrived at work already stressed out because the traffic drove you mad? Those flippin' taxis Can't they obey the rules of the road? Why can't the kids get up on time? They were late for school again. And the dog, does the dog have to chew always my left shoes? And you arrive at work already burnt out, already frustrated. You didn't sleep properly. Your teeth ache because you never made it to the dentist yesterday. And then your boss is stressed and he goes and puts that on. How do you feel then? So you're in control of that situation. So whether you take it on or not, if you understand he's stressed and he's stressed because he's got pressure, there's targets that go, yes, you're a non-profit, but a non-profit needs money just as much as a profit organization does. Are you able to reframe the paradigm? That's what I spoke about. Are you able to change it and take away that fear that's associated with it? Now, it's not easy. It's not. But in the beginning, arriving in a more harmonious state will help you initially. Does that help in any way? You can add to the question or unmute you. Yes, thanks. Okay. So have a look to see, can I change the paradigm? Can I change how I am perceiving the stressful situation to then go and change it in myself? The stresses we know are always going to be around us. They're there. We'll never get away with them. Change your job, Carol. You're going to have another boss who's stressed. It's not going to make a difference. Been there, done that. I've been the causer of a lot of stress as well for people. They change jobs and they realize grass ain't greener on the other side. So exactly. Sometimes we're just going to look internally. Thank you very much for the question. Is there somebody else you'd like welcome to put in the chat?
Can I
All
add something there? Can I add something there, which I learned many years ago? Only when you take on that other person's stress is when you get stressed out. As simple as that. Don't accept the person's stress. Try and do the best you can, because that's all you can actually do. Make the best of the bad situation. That's the way I've learned to cope with it. You know?
Make the best of a bad situation. These things happen anyway, whether we want them or not. So exactly. All right. Thank you. Natasha asks, how do you combat a negative environment? Sure, that's quite a deep one, Natasha. I don't know if Ellie, if you've got an answer there, or even Kathryn. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you, Kathryn. If you're an answer, how do you combat a negative environment? Is this a work environment, Natasha? I assume it is.
Yeah,
it's kind of like work, home, and also like I live in a very small town, so it's quite a cliquey town, and just a lot of negative kind of comments. And so yeah, just how do you combat kind of people who not seem to want to attack you, because that sounds very dramatic, but just don't seem to want to boost your confidence, like little criticisms, little weird comments? How do you deal with these kind of weird things that you're like, oh, I don't really know why that person's saying that kind of thing to me? And it's all related to work. It's not personal stuff. It's like work stuff.
Okay. Let me open it up to Ellie or Kathryn if you've got something.
So one of the things, and this might sound again like if it wasn't for personally experiencing this, it'd be like, oh, this is just airy-fairy stuff. Start a daily practice where you are seeing things as you want them to be. Now, you're not going to all of a sudden show up tomorrow and everything's going to be different. That's the airy-fairy stuff. But as you're envisioning yourself or seeing yourself, and this actually can be towards Carol's question as well. In work environment, if there's a person that's pissing you off, or there's a boss that you can't stand, I mean, you literally have two choices. You either make peace or you leave and go to another job. But let's say that's not an option right now. You don't want to leave right now because you're happy where you are. Start visualizing the way you want it to be, like almost like a pre-rehearsal for your day. And on top of that, see that person who's causing you the most grief as everything's just working out. It's just great. I come in and all of a sudden they're like, because what happens is, and this was actually in a book or a program, somebody made an example of exactly that. When we are annoyed by somebody, we cook it up inside. And what we're transmitting as a radio frequency to the universe is more of the same. So the more I notice the garbage in that person, the more I notice how much he or she are annoying me, the more I'm frustrated with them, I'm cooking it up inside. They're having dinner. They don't even know I'm existing right now. But inside of me, I'm blah, right? And guess what happens tomorrow when I show up? Just more of the same, right? So I would definitely say, start to literally just kind of almost like a rehearsal for what the day will be like. And then definitely add some of the breath work that Tim shares, because it'll help you release that inside of you. The only time we're ever triggered by someone else, well, what they said or what they did or what they're instilling on us, is because it's inside us. It's not them. If we let go of the trigger inside us, nothing they can do can turn it on.
That's it. Very true. There's a phenomenal book.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
There's a phenomenal book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie. That's right.
That's a brilliant one. It's, again, a book from many, many decades ago, but every lesson in there is about, and Jim Rohn speaks on it as well, where he says, if you want change, you change.
Mm-hmm.
We can't force anybody around us to change, can we? Carol can't force her boss to stop putting the stress on her. You're not going to be able to change in the small town. And I understand a little bit about small town. It's been 9 months that I'm living in a small town in South Africa, Lagabon. I was living in big. Now I'm starting to realize that the clicks, it's like, okay, this is unique for me. So we're not able to change anybody else around them. So we need to change. And there's a great story about a woman who goes to, I'm not sure if it was Jim Rohn, but it doesn't matter where the story came from, where this woman went to him, and let's just say it's Jim Rohn. He went to him and said, I hate my job, fix it for me. He said, well, what do you hate about your job? No, I hate the boss, I hate this, I hate the people, I hate the environment, I hate the traffic I have to go to, and I hate all of that. And he said, okay, so if you left your job, would you love your next one? No, I don't want to leave my job. All right. So do you like getting paid? Yes, of course I like getting paid. Okay. So you like getting paid. Do you get paid well? Well, yes, I actually do get paid well. Okay. So two good things about it. All right. Do you get holiday a year? She says, yes, I get paid. In fact, I get paid 4 weeks holiday because I've been there for a while. So I get more than everybody else. I get 4 weeks paid holiday a year. Okay. So that's another good thing. Do you have a good pension fund? Yes, they've actually got an excellent pension fund. All right. And he starts asking all these questions, which elicits a more positive feeling, which is what Ellie's talking about. And then he said to the lady, so how does it feel now? And she says, well, it doesn't feel so bad. In fact, the traffic's not that bad because I only live a kilometer away from the office anyway. So I could walk on a good day. Right. A while later, it was months later, that he bumped into the same person at the end of a conference, and the lady came to him and said, you changed my life. And he said, wow, amazing. She says, it's wonderful. Everybody in the office is so amazing. They all changed. And he says, no, my dear, you changed. It starts with how we perceive it. We're not able to change. My wife, I gave up years ago trying to change my wife. My wife's still thinking that she can change me. Maybe she can. We can't change other people. So we have to look at ourselves and the circumstances we're in and saying, well, what can I do about it? This is where Ellie spoke about paradigms. I spoke about paradigm. Kathryn's even spoken about how she changed her paradigms, her thinking about her marriage, right, Kathryn? Had to change in order for her to see, I actually can get out of this. I can have the life that I want because I'm being abused financially, emotionally, whatever it was. But she looked at herself. I bet, Kathryn, if you tried to go and change your husband in order to avoid getting divorced. No, look at that expression. There we go. That says it all.
Yeah, good luck with that one. No, I think, you know, you've covered the answers to both those questions, but I think we've got to see ourselves as a mirror, and we just get reflected back to us the way we're feeling. And if we're feeling like that, then that's what we're asking more of. So yeah, what you've both just covered, we need to change ourselves. We can't change anyone else. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Natasha, perspective for you? Okay. That's great, love. That's great. That's great. Dig out that book. I'd strongly encourage you, if you haven't read it, How to Win Friends and Influence People. A very, very, very powerful book, which sits exactly where you're talking about how our actions are perceived, how other people react based upon our actions, whether we see it or not. And there's some phenomenal stories in there as well. Won't relate to them now. Carol's actually got a very good comment. Thank you very much. Work can help me to find those allies and confidence to make me feel like I'm not alone. Yes, that can help you. I'm just going to share one word of caution without it being, maybe it isn't, but I'm just going to share it anyway, without it being a gossip section. Where now, oh, the boss did this and the boss did that and this one did this and this one did that, which you may be unaware you could be creating a more stressful environment, because now you're taking on somebody else's stress or issue that they moaned about, which wasn't anything to do with you. And then something happened and then you went and connected that situation with this one. So if it's an honest, positive connection, and not a gossiping, skinnering, he did this, the boss hates me, I don't like him, and he did that. That can lead very easily to a toxic work environment. And you wouldn't intentionally be creating it, but it can actually lead to that. And your reaction to your boss in a certain circumstance may be impacted because of a story that somebody else told you. So just a word of caution there. I see Ellie's nodding his head as well. Absolutely amazing. Just going to round up quickly in the chat box there. Please do click on those two links. Speaker Score, when you click on that, you'll see underneath there's a code W95Q. When you click on Speaker Score, it's going to ask you for that code, which gives you access to this workshop. And then underneath is the Professional Pointer Breathwork Journey, which is next week. I'll drop that in an email to you guys as well. You've attended. Thank you all very much. I respect and love you loads for actually coming here live with us on a Thursday evening. I love doing this. And Ellie and I said, and with Kathryn at the beginning, said, you know what, if nobody else turns up, we're going to have a great chat. We're going to record it anyway and send it to them. So the fact that you did, thank you all very much. Absolute pleasure. Kathryn, last word for you. I know we're over time, but last word from you before we head off.
Yeah, just want to say thank you to everyone, and a special thank you, as I said earlier, Tim, for getting me out of my comfort zone. So, and if I can do it, we can all do it.
There you go. We're going to see you on a lot more lives. And Mr. Eli Jarvis, once again, thanks a lot for your support there and for joining.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure.
To Arend, as always, Chantal, Carol, Duncan, Johan, Margaret, and Natasha. And thanks for those for the questions. Have a great one. This recording will be on the Telegram, or not on the Telegram. What's it called? LinkedIn. That's the place. And I'll make sure you've got all those links in an email tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of Thursday. I look forward to seeing you all in a breathwork journey and in November's session as well. Amazing. Appreciate you all. Good night.